AuZtralia. This is a game with an unusual title and also with an unusual theme. At first sight, it is a Euro game with a lot of concepts that we expect from this genre. We're gonna build railroads, so we go to new locations and we build farms and we trade ore for sheep. Oh no, wait, that's not the game. But you get the sense, you get the idea. It's a worker placement game in which you will select certain actions. The cost of the actions will increase if you keep using the same ones. Nice concepts that, again, you're familiar with. Oh, it's a Euro game. At the same time, however, there are horrible monsters. We are the settlers of Australia. We start from the coast, we move into towards the outback, and as we get there, lo and behold, look at that. The horror of Lovecraft lore are there waiting for us. Cultists, evil temples, shoggoths, amigos, and even the Dark Lord Cthulhu himself. So maybe it should have been AuZtralia, but that would have been very nice. I would have liked that a lot, but maybe that's only me. There's zombies also, but it's not mainly a zombie game, so I don't know what. I assume, however, that's where the Z comes from, AuZtralia. The Lord Cthulhu is there. That is really weird. I always associated him with the Sunken City or Lié. I guess all of a sudden it felt down there was a little too wet and decided to try a dry location for a while. Point is, you do all of the Eurogamey things, but you're also spending resources to build armies, to build different expeditionary forces, and then you're gonna use those to attack the monsters. So you have a Euro game, you have a little bit of a war game, and you have a Cthulhian theme. Best of all possible worlds, if you ask me, because those are some of the things that I like the most in gaming, combined in a single package. If it works, if all of these things work together, well, this is a truly phenomenal game. But before we get there, before I tell you what I think about the game, let me show you how the game works. We start by taking a look at the board. The main area of the board is divided in hexes. Also, the board is double-sided. There is a different map on the other side. 3 types of hexes that, well, will present different challenges. Building railroads in them may be more or less difficult. Also, they are divided by the type of farm that you can have in them. Here, in these hexes here, you can have corn farms. Here in the hills, you can have cattle farms. And here in the outback, you can have sheep farms. Now, setup. At setup, you place these tiles representing monsters. They are divided in different levels from 1 to 3, with 2 in between. And the higher the level, the higher the number, the more dangerous the monster is. Also, you will place resources on the board at the beginning of the game. You have gold, coal, iron, and phosphate. How do you decide where things go? Well, you use these tiles here, and you shuffle them, and you place a number of them face down on the board in specific locations at the beginning of the game. Then you reveal them, and for each tile, you simply place what it says there. Say here you will place 3 coal in the location where the tile is, and then going around you will place gold and 2 monsters. So setup can be a little laborious, but I have to tell you it's really worth it because it brings a lot of variety to gameplay. For example, what you see here is an actual setup. I placed all the tiles there and then I placed the resources accordingly, and setup turned out to have a lot of low-level monsters around here and not many monsters here in the outback. Other setups that I've seen, the opposite was true. There was a stronghold of terrible monsters here, and then a more sparsely populated area here in the middle of the board. So a lot of variety there. Here we have an area where we store the military units that the players can acquire during the game, and then very important, we have the time track. This is one of those games similar to Tokaido or Raids, in which players have a player's disc, and basically players take a turn when their disc is the last one on the time track, and taking actions costs time. Suppose I am the green player, now it's my turn because I'm the last player there. I take an action that costs me 2 time points, then I move my disc by 2, and now it's yellow player's turn. This player takes an action that requires 3 units of time, and then red player will go, and red takes an action that is only one time. When you get to a new location, you get on top of other discs that may be there, and it's still your turn, basically. When you have a stack of discs, the one on top goes next. Now, interestingly enough, we saw that there are monsters here. They're placed face down at the beginning of the game. They will be revealed by game effects during the game. Sometimes, luckily enough, oh, they should have been face down. Sometimes they're kangaroos. When you reveal them, turns out that there's nothing there. In other cases, these are monsters and other types of horror that you will have to deal with. What is interesting is that when the player's discs all pass the position 22 on the time track, where you place a purple disc at the beginning of the game during setup, when all the players are past that, now that disc activates as normal. That is, it activates when it is the last disc there, and when it is activates, you will draw cards from a deck to see which monsters, if any, will activate, and so these monsters that are the monsters that are face up may activate and then start moving towards your farms, towards your port, and trying to destroy stuff. Very interesting idea. Also, as you can see on the time track, some areas there, basically every other area, is lighter in color. When the purple disc lands on one of those, then you draw a revelation card, which will be a card that will generate where it is, oh, here we go, will generate random effects. For example, it may kill some people, some personalities that you want to hire. We'll talk about those. But in most cases, they will force the players to reveal a monster, an old one, on the board. And this is how the monsters may get activated. They get activated if you attack them, or they may get activated because of the revelation. So every other turn after time point 22, every other time that the purple disc moves, chances are that one of these people will wake up and start wreaking havoc on the board. Each player has a player board, such as this one, that you use to store your resources, like iron or gold. You store your action cubes, that then you will move to these boxes here to perform actions. We'll talk about those later. Here you place your units after you purchase the military units that are available to attack the monsters, and you move them to this area here, the expeditionary force, when you're actually attacking the monsters. Sanity tokens, you have 3 per combat. The monsters may force you to leave a combat because you go insane. Other resources, you will have railroad tiles, you will have tokens representing farms, again, corn, cattle, and sheep. And then you have a port, very important token. That is where you start building things. You will build your railroads starting from there. You will build your farms along your railroads. You will launch attacks from your railroads, so super important. It is also super important because if a monster attacks and destroys a port of any player, the game is over immediately and you score points and you see who the winner is. The game is also over if all discs, including the purple disc, go past the slot number 53 on the time track. Now we're talking about the time track. So remember, you become the active player when your disc is the last on that track. And when that is the case, what you do is you perform an action. You choose a cube from your available ones and you place it on the action that you want to perform. The action will also tell you the number of time points that you spend, that is, that you advance on the time track. For example, building 2 railroads in the outback and here in clear terrain costs 2 time points. And when you build railroads, you build them across edges into hexes. Now, what I said here, that you just place a cube, spend time and perform the action, applies if there are no cubes there yet. If you want to take an action that already has a cube there, you need to pay an amount of gold equal to the number of cubes that are already there. So to take an action a second time, I spend a cube to take an action a third time, I spend 2 cubes, and so on and so forth. Now, as for the actions, so you may have the action of building railroads, again in the outback and in clear terrain, costs 2 time points, and you also need to spend a coal and an iron. Then you have this one, which can build in any type of terrain, including hills. Again, it is 2 railroads per action, same cost of resources, but it takes 3 time points, just more time consuming. Mining. With mining, you can pick up all of the resources that are in an X that you can reach with your railroad. For example, I can reach that one there, I take the mining action, and then I can collect those resources there. Acquiring a personality card. There will be 5 special characters available here at all times. They come from that deck there. They have different abilities. They may give you extra actions, extra resources, improve your combat capabilities, a lot of different things. And simply for a single time point, for a single action that costs only a time point, then you can take one of them, place it in your play area, and you can have as many as you want and use their effects as many times as you want, and the text allows you to. Buying a military unit. The cost is in gold, and you can usually buy only 1 military unit per action. The exception is infantry. It costs 1 gold, and you can spend 2 gold to buy 2 infantry. Airships are 4, artillery is 5, armor car is 3, armor trains is 4. And so when you buy those units, you take them from the general supply, and you place them in your barracks. Suppose that this is my barracks. Looks pretty neat, huh? The units have a number in the bottom right corner that tells you how many hits they can take before they're destroyed, and the range that they can use to attack. Basically, you will declare an attack starting from a point in your railroad, selecting a number of units for your expeditionary force, and you can attack an X, which is no further than the shortest range. For example, infantry has a range of 1, and airship has a range of 4. If I was attacking only with airship, from there I could attack 1, 2, 3, oh no, 4. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4. I could even get there. It's empty, but you get the idea. If I have infantry and airships, then the shortest range is 1, and I could attack either of these. We'll see how you resolve attack later, but for now we know that it is an action. For an action you can attack a monster no further than the shortest range in your expeditionary force. Import-export. You can take iron or coal, or you can sell iron or coal for gold, and you can take that action twice. It's important in case you don't have a lot of resources. Building farms. For an action, you can build 1, 2, or 3 farms, only 1 per type per action, and the number of time points it takes is equal to the number of farms. That means, for example, I could decide here, since I am able to connect the 2 types of terrain for a single farming action, I can build a farm there and a farm there. The farmable X needs to be empty and connected to my railroad. If, for example, my net of railroads had been like this before I started the farming action, for a single farming action, I could build 3 farms. Again, you can only build 1 per type per action, so you're trying to diversify, but it would take me 3 time points. Now, attacking. Oh, attacking is neat. Oh, we found a kangaroo. Now, you're attacking a monster because you declare the attack. Also, if the monster is attacking your port, you get a chance of fighting the monster for free. Monsters have a number of hit points that you need to match with your hits to destroy the monster. And then there is another number there, which is the number of victory points that the monster is worth. To resolve combat, we use this deck here. This deck of cards that has the monsters, and on the left side it shows the units that will score a hit against that monster in combat, and then the negative effects that the monsters will inflict on your units. Remember also, you will start each combat with 3 points of sanity. Suppose that I'm attacking the zombies here with that expeditionary force. You know what, let's make it worth there. We're attacking a scary Shoggoth that is worth 83 points, but also has 8 life points. And I'm attacking with airships, infantry, and armored cars. When you're attacking with multiple of the same unit, they need to be in a stack for reasons that will be clear. Now what you do when you declare the attack, you simply flip the first card and look at the line corresponding to the monster that you're attacking. If the unit that if the unit that represented here is in expeditionary force, then you score a hit. For example, here you will score a hit with artillery, which we don't have, so nothing inflicts a hit. As you can see, that means that combined arms, diversifying, will give you better chances of inflicting hits. However, if you have multiple types of units, it will take you more time to attack. How many units you have within each type doesn't matter. It's just the idea that imagine combining arms is tough. In this case, for example, we did not score any hits, but we take 2 hits. There are 2 cubes that we place on our units. These cubes here can be placed only on land units, not airships. And say, my units are not destroyed yet, this one has 2, this one has 2, they only took 1 hit, and I decide to go. Basically, you can keep going until either you have no sanity and you should take more sanity hits, in which case you go insane and you withdraw, you have no, and you withdraw and you're defeated, you have no units left, and so you are defeated. The monster is defeated. Another way, of course, is that you choose to withdraw when you think that the losses are going to be significant. Now we draw this card here and we will suffer a sanity hit, we'll lose a sanity token, but we do inflict a hit because we have the armor card. And then we take one of our cubes and we place it there. And this is pretty much how combat works. Infantry inflicts a hit, hooray! But at the same time we take 2 hits, and that means, alas, that we inflict a hit there that kills that infantry, and another hit there because I really want to keep my car. This is how it works. You also use these cards when the monsters activate due to the activation of the monsters. We said that. The revelation cards will tell us which monsters are flip face up. And then we use these cards to move the monsters. Basically, each time the monsters activate, that's a lot of Shoggoths. I want to show you different types of monsters. Each time the monsters activate, you will draw 2 cards from this deck, and you will look at the monster or monsters that have a white circle in the background. Those are the monsters that, if face up, will move 1 hex towards the closest port or towards the closest farm. For example, in this case, I flip this card face up, and the cultists move, and that is the closest farm, and the cultist moves there. Then we flip another card, and it is the zombies, and the zombies this time move closest. Next time the monsters activate, there are 2 cards. This card doesn't make them move at all. This card makes the Shoggoth move, and so on and so forth. And this is how you move the monsters. At the end of the game, you will score points for the players and for the monsters. The monsters score points for the monster that they still have on the board, plus the number of farms that they have destroyed by walking on them. You will score points based on several things, such as phosphate that you have collected, farms, victory points that may come from game effects, may come from personality cards, and at the end of the game, the player with the highest total is the winner, which may be the monsters, in which case all the human players lose the game. Yes, this is a phenomenal game. It does combine some of the things that I like the most in gaming. I like wargaming, not a mystery, not a secret, but I also like worker placement and Eurogaming. Why choose? I can do worker placement and still send mighty attacks against monsters, still choose the expeditionary forces that I want, still have that truly tactical level of tactical depth in which I can choose which forces I'm going to send, increasing my chances against certain types of monsters. Not all forces are equally effective against all monsters. Round after round I can choose to stay, to withdraw entirely, to to keep part of my forces there, only withdraw some. It reminded me a little bit of many Columbia war games by Columbia Games, in which you have also that choice round after round to stay with everybody, to stay only with somebody. So the war game element is not insignificant to me. Plus, you have one of my favorite themes in gaming. Plus, and I didn't mention this in my introduction, you have the solitaire option. All other things being equal, I prefer a game that I can also play solitaire because, well, why not? It's one more element, it's one more way of playing the game, and if you can have that without any loss somewhere else in the design, that's a big plus, and that is precisely what we have here. This game is fun. This game is truly fun because you have a very interesting range of options, very interesting challenges as you're trying to really maximize your actions, your engine of actions. To do that, I need to do that. In order to do that, I need to do that other thing. To get the resource, I need to get there. To get there, I need to build that thing, etc., etc., etc. So you really have interesting problems and planning dilemmas that you have to deal with. And a big dilemma, of course, is if you're going to spend an action to refresh your actions, reducing the cost of all of the actions on your board, or keep hitting the same ones by spending a lot of gold, but then you're able to get to those actions faster. I like this idea, cheaper, better, faster. You cannot have all three, and this is really the case. You can go faster by spending a lot of gold. You can go cheaper. It takes you a long time. And as for better, that is of course where the game shines, because it's up to you, the player, to figure out the right moment to switch from the faster to the cheaper strategy, to choose which forces to send out, etc., etc., etc. Now, the game plays up to 4 players. With 4 players, you can have moments in which the game feels a little slow. Not so much because it really encourages you to do analysis paralysis. Pretty much, since to do some things you need to be committed to attack the monster, I need the forces, I need the railroads to go there. So you have your plan in mind, and when your turn comes around, you execute the move that will lead you to put your plan into action. Sometimes the game may feel a little slow, and you feel like you're sitting there not doing much with 4 players, because maybe my plan move is to get a personality card. And that could be exciting because maybe someone else is gonna take it. Or it is simply, I'm gonna build a road there, so I'm gonna put my cube there, spend my resources, done. To execute that action, it takes me pretty much the time it took me to explain it to you, to say it to you. But another player is actually performing an attack, and so their battle takes a while to resolve. Another player maybe will want to take a look at the personality cards. Another player is attacking the monster again. It takes several rounds and flipping the cards and adjusting things to do so. As my turn, I spend resources and I play 2 railroads, and then you attack, etc., etc., etc. I'm telling you this not to give you a sense, oh my gosh, this is horrible, it ruins the game. In a certain sense, to tell you this is the biggest minus I can think about the game. It is not that big. So I'm actually saying this to reassure you. The only negative thing I could think about the game is really not that much of a big deal, which is from time to time it feels like the pace of the game becomes slower with 4 players because of this. Other players are using more complex actions, and in your plan you're only using a quick one. But then it'll be your turn to form your expeditionary force, sending out and have the epic battle, etc., etc., etc. I guess you can't really have a game that has something as quick to resolve as worker placement and something more complex like a battle without having the pace change throughout the game. But no big deal, you'll be the one doing the big attacks after a while. So I like the overall architecture of the game. Again, you select your actions, you spend your resources, etc., etc., etc. The game, although it has a solitaire option, does not feel like a solitaire when you're playing it with other players, does not feel like a multiplayer solo, because you need to plan with other people. Wait, what if I attack that guy and you attack that monster? Because maybe we don't want the game to end. Of course, there may be a player which is way ahead and the player is perfectly fine with someone else's port being destroyed. But if the monsters do wreak too much havoc on the board, then everybody loses. So that element of of cooperation is definitely there. You have to take that into account, and that of course increases the interaction, and that creates a situation in which, although you could play multiplayer solo, you probably don't want to. You had to figure out how to. The first time we played the game, we were slaughtered by the game entirely. The monsters destroyed us. The monster AI won by a lot. And then we figured out how to cooperate better. I'm not going to give you the details so that, well, you can discover them by yourself. It's going to be more fun that way. In general, I can tell you that AuZtralia is a really outstanding game. The production is excellent. The setup can be a little bit laborious, but if you have multiple players working on it, not a big deal. But in general, it is a really, really solid game. Not super light because you have those different aspects, the Euro and the warfare plus an AI element to learn. It's not super easy, not super casual, but for committed players, or even just medium weight players, this is a really good game with a lot to offer, a lot of tough decisions, really good production values, huge replay value because of different ways in which the board will end up looking in different setups, and you even have the solitaire option. That's just a very, very welcome plus, at least for me. AuZtralia by Martin Wallace, really strong design.